Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Students of the Word. This is session number 105. And tonight we, it's not the last sentence of the paragraph, but it's the last sentence before the paragraph gets really interesting. Of course, the sin that leads to death section is the one we've been really looking forward to. But it's time to finish up what we've been doing. So let's look ahead back here to, what was it? 17, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Indeed. No, 18. Yikes. Paragraph 18. Look at that. Okay. Paragraph 18. So the first three verses. These things I have written to you who believe in the name of the Son of God, so that you may know that you have eternal life. This is the confidence which we have before him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the requests which we have asked from him. That is our sentence today. Verse 15. And of course, it's right after this that it transitions. If anyone sees his brother committing a sin not leading to death, we'll get there. Next time. Probably next time we will get there. My priority for today, tempted as I am to peek ahead at verse 16, my priority for today is verse 15. And in particular, trying to understand first how it is picking up on the previous sentence, which I'm not even sure is a different sentence in the Greek, and seeing how this sort of brings these first three sentences together seem to form a collective thought. And I want to make sure my goal for today is seeing if we can understand that. So I just read it through in the NASB. Let's read it through with the Greek here. Okay. These things I wrote to you so that you may know, that was the shocker of a couple sessions ago, so that you may know that you have the life of the agish life, that you have the agish life to those believing in the name of the Son of God, and that you may believe, you may trust into the name onoma of the Son of God. Okay, so he begins by saying his two purposes are, one, so that you may know that you have the life eternal. Now, hang on, I'm forgetting. It's always disconcerting when I go back and look at a sentence we've already talked about, and all of a sudden it's not making sense to me anymore. What I'm having a hard time with is the dative here. That is the link between this first part by itself makes sense. These things I have written to you so that you may know that you have the life of the age. But to those believing in the name of the Son of God, how that relates to the first part. I think it's like in a positive. I have written to you. That is to say, to those believing in the name of the Son of God. Like that's also who he's written to? Like the you and those believing in the name of the Son of God are the same thing? Yes. Okay. All right. So he begins by identifying his audience with the believing in the name of the Son of God ones. Okay, fine. Now notice his conjunction. We get a whole bunch of Kais here. These things I have written to you so that you may know that you have the life of the age. I've written to those to the believing in the name of the Son of God ones. Kai, and there's another thing. And that you may believe on the name of the Son of God. Okay. Sorry. So we've already talked about this sentence. I was going back in order to simplify things, and I'm complicating things to myself. Um, because this is him repeating the same thing again, right? I've written to you. I've written to the believing in the name of the Son of God's ones, so that you might believe in the name of the Son of God. That's why I've written, right? I've written to the name of those who believe on the name of the Son. I've written to those who believe on the name of the Son of God, so that they might believe on the name of the Son of God. Oh, wait, I see. That's in our little curly brackets there. Not curly brackets, but our little whatever those are. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I overlooked those. So this is a manuscript issue. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So hang on. Fortunately, Randall's explaining to me the manuscript issue. Okay. Manuscripts that have to those believing in the name of the Son of God immediately after human up here to you have the kaihina, the and that you may believe at the end. But those that have the to those believing in the name of Son of God after this, like in the order in which it appears here, don't have it. Okay. So there are some that in fact do repeat it. So the manuscript evidence for this verse, if I'm understanding you correctly, Randall, says is gives us two options, right? We have this verse in two versions. Version number one is the version that says, "These things I have written to you, to the believing in the name of the Son of God ones, so that you may know you have life eternal, and that you may believe on the name of the Son of God." And there are some that say, "To these things I have written to you, so that you may know that you have eternal life, to those believing in the name of the Son of God." Period. Okay. Of the two, my unscholarly preference is to the former, is to the repetitive one, actually. Just because that seems to me to fit much better with how John thinks. He does that sort of thing all the time. I can totally see him saying that. "These things I have written to you, to the believing in the name of the Son of God ones, so that you may know that you have eternal life, and that you may believe on the name of the Son of God." I can absolutely see him saying that. That makes perfect sense. um, but I won't linger too long on that. I think that's why it's surprising me, because I kind of skimmed over it before, or I kind of like let it go before because of the manuscript issue. Um, and yes, I agree. As Randall is saying, it seems more likely. So if the variation is created by a scribe, um, by scribal error, Randall's saying he thinks it more likely that a scribe would drop the repetition out than that a scribe would add the repetition in. Yes, I agree. I agree. Um, but yes, again, it's always conjecture. Okay, so I won't lean too heavily on the whole repetition thing, but um, potentially what the issue is basically here is when he talks about believing in the name of the Son of God, is he using that? Is he using that to identify the people that he's talking to? Or is he using that as a way to explain why he's writing, the purpose of his writing, or both? I'm writing to people who believe in the name of the Son of God, or I'm writing so that you might believe in the name of the Son of God, or both. I'm writing to those who believe, so that you may believe. Um, and again, the latter sounds like John up one side and down the other, to be perfectly frank. Um, that he's writing to those who believe, and he's writing so that they may believe, so that they may trust. Any degree of that kind of repetition to me puts pressure on the verb pisteusin or pisteuete, the pisteo verb. Um, just like when I say pressure, I mean emphasis, like the kind of pressure that he put upon abiding, the mene verb, so frequently earlier in the epistle, right? Um, because there's two ways, of course, to think about belief, to think about trust, just as there are two ways to think about abiding. One way to think about it is, well, not it's not passive versus active, because when you're believing something, it's always that's an action. You're doing something, you're choosing, you're believing, you're trusting. But there's a way of looking at that which might suggest that it's a one and done situation, right? Do you believe it? Yes or no? Are you in the category? Or are you not in the category? Are you one of the believing in the name of Son of God ones? Is that a step you have taken? Is that a belief you hold? Is that a trust you have undertaken? And but then, like, if it is, now you're in some kind of steady state, right? That's one way of looking at it. That it's a thing that, in that sense, kind of needs to happen once. Or it can be something that has to be, that is an ongoing action. To the believing in the name of Son of God ones. Again, meaning not just people who are members of this category, but people who are performing that action yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The action of trusting, believing in the name of the Son of God. And that's why you see the parallel that I'm suggesting with abiding. To abide, mene, that just means like to remain, right? So in one sense, abide it's technically, I mean, it's an active verb, but it's an active verb that describes inaction. To not go somewhere is to abide, right? So again, there's one way of looking at abide, remain, as if it were as if it were the opposite of action, as if it were a kind of default thing that happened when you didn't do something or go somewhere. But the way that he talks about abiding invites us to look at that verb very differently, right? Abiding is something you have to do. It's active. It's something you have to do and you have to continue to do. Not just something that happens to be true of you because you didn't do anything. And so I wonder if if he's putting that same kind of pressure. Pressure, again, by that metaphor, I mean, he's adding a kind of force to the verb that it doesn't always have. The pressure that he's putting on abide is not always there on that verb, right? I mean, if I understand that word correctly, and Randall, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understand mene correctly, you would use that word Like if you said like, oh yeah, I took like there were five apples in the basket. I took two and three remain. Like three are still there, basically. But if I wanted to say it for like in a sense from the point of view of the apples, I would be like, but three remain in the basket. Like as far as I understand, again, the word abide can have as little, you know, riding on it as that, as to be this kind of default state. The apples aren't doing anything. It's because they're not doing anything that they're said to abide, to remain in the basket. But John, through his repetitions of that verb, mene, has invited us to look at that verb in a whole new way. He's put a great deal of pressure on it and on the idea that this is an action that must be performed. And so I wonder if whatever is the story, and it is very hard to say in a manuscript situation like this, like there's variations, and so it's we're left to merely conjecture. Um, uh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah, Randall, I don't mean a verb to leave something behind. Again, I'm thinking if I were saying that sentence, the my apple sentence from the point of view of the apples, right? If I said like five apples were taken or two apples were taken and three remain. Um, so the subject of the verb would be apples, not like the person taken the apples in that sense. That's what I mean by from the point of view of the apples. The apples would be the subject of the verb. Um, yeah, in the sense of stay in place. Right, exactly. Right. Yes. Yes. Um, anyway, that's not important. The connections with abide and with that verb mene is just a parallel that I'm trying to kind of put my finger on here. Anyway, what I was just saying was with these kinds of manuscript variations, it's impossible to know for sure exactly like exactly what John himself wrote when he wrote this or what he dictated when he dictated this. Um, uh, but I do wonder if he is, if the confusion about the extent to which, like whether he's repeating things here and the extent to which he's repeating things here, I wonder if that is in part a consequence of him kind of putting that sort of pressure on this verb, believing. But anyway, let's keep going. Okay. One way or another, he's addressing those who believe in the name of the Son of God. He wants them to believe in the name of the Son of God. And he wants them to know that they have eternal life, eidete, to know that they have the life of the age. Now let's keep going. Kai. Kai haute. And this is the confidence that we have in his direction, in God's direction. The boldness, the confidence that we have in God's direction. That, here's what it is. Hote, if we might ask something, if we might ask a thing, kata, and this was our discussion last time about kata, the preposition, anything aligned with his will, he hears us. Okay. Um, yeah. Oh, Stephen, yes. So exactly. Stephen is saying that in Matthew 24, when Jesus says there will be two men in the field, one will be taken, the other one left, uses a different verb. Right. But that's from the doer there is the taker, not the well, no, it isn't. Um yeah, no, but it's a different concept anyway. There the emphasis is on being left behind, not on the thing remaining, the thing abiding. So yeah, yeah. Um, never mind. Don't worry about it. Remember, like I said, that's only just a thing that it's only an analogy I was using to try to illustrate this. We don't need to get too sidetracked on it. Anyway, okay. And this is the confidence that we have towards. So now notice we're still kaiing, we're still anding, right? These things I wrote to you so that you may know that you have the life of the age. And this is the confidence, kai, this is the confidence that we have toward him. That if anything we might ask according to the will of him, he hears us. Kai, now he does it again. Kai, if we know that he hears us, kai ean oidamen hoti akue hemon. Okay, akue hemon is he hears us. That's simple. The hoti here is what we know. And if we know that, right? Okay, so this shows the thing that we know. Notice he's doing a thing here. John is doing a thing here that he has rarely done. And that is he is stringing together two if clauses. And by doing so, he's making something which is almost like a line of reasoning, which is not John's normal method, right? John doesn't normally do like, this thing is true. And if that is true, then this next thing is true. And if that thing is true, then this third thing is true. Right now, Susan says, what is this, Paul? Like, what have you done with John? Yeah, but that seems to be how this works, right? Remember, it begins with a concept. I wrote these things so that you may know that you have the life of the age. That's the thing. I want you to know that you have the life of the age. And he seems to connect that knowledge of having the life of the age with having confidence towards God, in God's direction. Right? Those things are in parallel in these two sentences. And I think that's why he begins 14 the way that he does. And this is the confidence that we have towards him. So it's like, I want you to know, I'm writing this so that you know you have the life of the age. But what does that mean? Well, it means we have confidence towards him. But what does that mean? Here's what it means. It means that if we ask anything, if we were to ask anything in the subjunctive, if we were to ask something that is aligned with, that is fitting with his will, then he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, so this is like the next step. We have confidence. Our confidence is that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And here's the logical consequences of that statement. If we know that he hears us, and notice how he brings knowledge back. It's not a pure and simple logical step. Like a purer step would be to say, this is the confidence we have towards him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if he hears us, then like he will do something else or whatever. Right? But he brings it back to knowledge again. And if we know oidamen, that he hears us, ho ean aitometha. Whatever if we might ask. So this aeon is just kind of echoing the first aeon and sort of telling us that we're still in an if situation, right? We wouldn't really use an English if, another if again here in English, exactly. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we might ask in a subjunctive and iffy kind of way. Yeah, it's the hypothetical particles telling us that we're being theoretical. Then whatever, if we ask, we know, no, we knew. That's perfect. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait. I'm confused. Both of these are perfect. The knowledge. And if we have known that he hears us, we have known that we have the requests that we have asked from him. Okay. All right. I'm going to come back to the tenses. Let's do vocabulary first because we've got two words which are a little bit unfamiliar anyway. Actually, no, they're not two words. I think they're one word. We might ask requests, and we have asked. And those seem to be all more or less the same word. If we might ask to know that the asks that we have asked from him, we have the asks that we have asked from him. Kinda, right? Because 154 here is going to be aiteo, the verb, to ask a request, and then aitemata is just going to be the noun form, yeah? Yeah. But it's the same word. Right? Okay. Hey, wow, this doesn't occur that often at all. That's interesting. Look at that. This only appears 3 times in the whole New Testament, this noun. Luke 23. And Pilate said that their demand should be done. Yeah. So Pilate makes his like decree that their request or demand should be done. Okay. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known from Paul in Philippians 4:6. And then this one. And that's it. Yikes. But aitema. Um, but right, that's clearly just the noun version of aiteo. I bet this comes in a lot more. Oh, yeah. 70 times. It's not overwhelming. Give to him who asks of you. He knows what you need before you ask. Ask and it will be given to you. For everyone who asks receives. If his son asks for a loaf, if he asks for a fish, God will give good things to them that ask him. So we get that whole segment of the Sermon on the Mount. We get lots of asking in there. Give her whatever she would ask. Anything they may ask shall be done. Okay. So, yeah. Notice in Matthew 20, um, notice in Matthew 20 here, the King James has desiring, but that clearly doesn't just mean wishing. That means in the 17th century to desire something meant to ask for something. Like that involved the actual asking at that point, in the sense in which they're using it. Um, which is why that translation is different. And all things you ask in prayer. The crowds are asking for Barabbas, and they're asking for the body. Okay. Yeah, notice they do it again. They craved the body of Jesus. It's not just talking about their desires, it means they've in fact made a formal request to be granted what they desire. I'm just looking in John quick. Gospel of John, I mean. Okay. Okay, the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman is the first one to use it in John. If you, being a Jew, ask me for a drink. And then you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. Whatever you ask of God, whatever you ask in my name, if you ask me anything in my name, ask whatever you will. Oh, it's all through John 15 and 16. Whatever you ask of the Father, if you ask the Father, now you have asked for nothing. Mm-hmm. You will ask in my name. Yeah, all those seem relevant. Okay. All right. Fine. So 3 times, one word, twice a verb, once a noun. And if we know that he hears us, whatever, if we might ask, we knew that we have the asks that we have asked from him. An app autu, app is that's just from, right? From, away from, yeah, apo. Okay. Um, oh, right. Right. Okay, Randall is reminding me about where oidamen comes from. That oidamen is actually just the perfect tense of eido, eido, which is to see. The idea is that you know something when you are in a condition of having seen. That's awesome. Randall, you see the irony there, right? The irony of using the word oidete, having seen, knowledge is having seen, in a sentence where you're talking about pistis, you're talking about faith. That's fun, right? Come on, that's fun. That's really fun. Um, yeah. Um, right. By faith, not sight, or by faith and sight in the case of verse 14 or 13. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. So literally, I we still do the same thing. So to say oidamen, to say I know something, you're literally saying I've seen it. I've seen it. So it's always in the perfect. So when oidamen is used in the perfect, that's like the present tense because it's the perfect form of seeing, but the perfect form of seeing is the present tense of knowing. Right. Okay. Yes. So if this verse were not in the perfect tense, it would just mean to see. I'm sure I learned this before, but Especially at my age, you got to learn things a whole bunch of times. I'm not that old, but I often feel old. Okay. A date, right, because that's perfect also. Of course it is. Okay. Okay. These things I have written to you. So, Randall, here's the exercise I'm about to perform. I'm going to go through and read it again, except this time instead of no, I'm going to just do it literally. I'm just going to do has seen. Okay. Let's do this as an exercise. Okay. These things I have written to you so that you may have seen that you have eternal life. To those, to the believing in the name of the Son of God ones, and that you may believe on the name of the Son of God. And this is the confidence that we have in his direction, that if we ask a thing that is in alignment with his will, he hears us. And if we have seen that he hears us, then whatever we might ask, we have seen that we have the asks that we have asked from him. Whoa. Is it just me or does that make a huge difference? That's really interesting. And if we have seen that he hears us, I think it gets a little bit strange, doesn't it, right there with the seeing and hearing? And if we have seen that he hears us, whatever we might ask, we have seen that we have the requests that we have asked from him. Okay. So the difference, hmm, hmm. We, of course, still use we have the same connection. I think it's the same connection, but of course, I could be being misled by what only appears to be the same thing. But in English, we'll use the word see to mean we know, we understand, right? Oh, I see, right? I see that. Randall says he thinks of it as knowing in the sense of perceiving rather than knowledge of facts. Yeah, well, yeah, I've been trying to convince myself the other way around for quite some time now. But yeah, that's the number one thing. The number one effect to me of reading those three sentences and replacing know in the present tense with have seen in the perfect tense is that it makes it all very experiential. We have seen that we have the requests we've asked for. And notice he's not talking about the future. He's talking about the present. He doesn't say we know that we will have the requests that we will at some point in the future ask for. He's not talking about confidence in the future, like in future events. It might be implied, at least to some extent, but it doesn't seem to be the emphasis. And the reason I say that most particularly is that this final ask is in the perfect tense too. He's not saying we have the request that we will ask from him. You know how sometimes you can use the present tense in like a perfect, a future kind of sense, right? Like describing a present state that may project into the future kind of thing, right? But he uses the perfect tense there that we have asked from him. We have present tense. We have present tense. The requests that we have asked in the past from him. And so it sounds like the oidamen there really is referring to perception, Randall, as you suggest. Like this is a known thing. Of course we know this. We've seen it. We've seen that we have the requests that we have in the past asked of him. Yeah, it does seem like experiential knowledge, Randall. Mm. And that's why I think it feels like the perfect tense matters. Like I'm not doubting, of course. Like that sense of like to have seen, like drawing, putting an equal side between have seen and do know, right? Between seen in the perfect tense and know in the present tense. It makes sense. Intuitive sense. If you have seen it, you do know it, right? I know that, you know, whatever. I know my wife is in the living room. How do I know that? Well, because I've seen her there just now, right? I have seen her, so I do know. And yet, it's talking about a past thing. The emphasis is on the past, is on, or rather on, because it's perfect tense, the state that you are now in because of the thing that happened in the past. And if we have seen, but see, again, it's totally different from if I tell you something and you believe me, you might say, now I know that thing, right? Um, but you wouldn't, if you said, so I know this, you wouldn't say oidamen, we have seen, because you haven't seen, you've been told. And you may well believe it, but you're not, but there's a difference between knowing in that sense and knowing because you're in a state of having seen something. That really is quite different. But do you see the irony I'm working back to? The irony is that's what he began this paragraph with, right? I wrote these things to you so that aidete, so that you might know, you might have seen that you have the life of the age. And that's why John writes the way he does. What I mean is, John's not telling us things. John is um, presenting things for us to see and meditate on and encounter for ourselves. This is why clarity of expression is not his number one goal. Because if it were, then he would just be telling us. I have written to you these things so that you may have seen that you have the life of the age. To have read this, and there is a sense, Randall, I agree, in which he's showing through his writing these things. And so they are, in a sense, seeing them. Again, just as when someone can explain something to you, and then you can say, oh, I see. That's a metaphorical application of it, right? So that you may have seen that you have eternal life. So that you may be in a state where you have perceived that you have the life of the age. And that you may trust in the name of the Son of God. And this is the confidence that we have in his direction, that if we ask anything, if we ask a thing in line with his will, he hears us. And if we have seen that he hears us, present tense, we have seen that we have the requests. Um, what do we do syntactically with ho eon aitometha here? Whatever, if we might ask. That is, where does it fit? Um, Let me explain. Is it attached to he hears us up here? And if we know that he hears us, whatever we might ask, or if we know that he hears us, we know that whatever we might ask, we have the requests. I'm not saying that there's necessarily a profound difference between those two things, but I'm kind of wondering if we can understand which part of the sentence that little clause is attached to. Susan, you think the second part? Okay. If we know that he hears us, we know that whatever we might ask, I'm reordering in the way that it is clearer in English. If we know that he hears us, we know that whatever we might ask, we have the requests we have asked from him. And I agree, Jackie, presumably with the qualification kata to thelema autu, according to his will, in line with his will. Yes. Sorry, the perfect tense of that final verb is still kind of getting me here. That we have asked from him. That construction almost seems like it almost has to. It seems like it almost has to imply things that we have asked that we haven't gotten yet. That is to say, I don't think we could paraphrase that into saying, so, haven't we always gotten what we've asked for? We have, haven't we? Therefore, we can have confidence, can't we? See what I mean? There seems to be a gap, a time gap, the tense difference. He doesn't say, we have had the requests that we have asked from him. We have received the asks, the things that we've asked for. In the past, didn't you ask for things and you totally got them? Well, then, right? That's not what he's saying. We know that we have them, the requests that we have asked for. So the asking's in the past. The asking's done. It's in the perfect tense. We are in a state of being, we're in a post-asking state. But obviously, they can't have gotten them yet. The answers, the requests, the asks. I mean, why would you talk about knowing that we have them? You just say we have them. I agree that whatever we might ask is definitely hypothetical. And that's what was confusing me because it's in the subjunctive. But that's why it's got the if there. It's an if hypothetical, right? That's what Aeon is floating around in there doing. But for the moment, I'm ignoring that clause. My focus is on oidamen hoti ekomen. We know that we have the asks that we have asked in the past from him. So again, it's conceivably, I could see somebody saying, well, this means, don't you have the things you've asked for in the past? Yes, you do. Ergo, you can be confident, can't you? But I am personally not confident that that's what he means, that that's what he is saying. I think that's why we're talking about confidence in the first place. That's why we're talking about knowledge. But why would you talk about oidamen, having seen, that sort of experiential thing? That does make it sound like he's saying, we have seen his answers. And because we have seen his answers, we have confidence that we have the requests that we have asked. But again, that's why. Okay, the reason what's bothering me is that again, it's the lack of talking about the future. If he were saying, "Hey, hasn't God given us what we've asked for in the past?" Yes, he has. Therefore, we can be confident about the future, the things that we're going to ask in the future. But he doesn't talk about that. He doesn't talk about the future. He's talking about the present and the past, and he's stopping there. That's what's bothering me. So I'm not even thinking about what it is we're asking. I'm not I mean that is a further question to be asked, but I'm not even asking that question yet. I'm just asking I'm just thinking about time. I'm thinking about time and tenses is what I'm still wrestling with here. Because I don't think the subjunctive clause in the middle, ho eon itometha, solves this problem because it's in the present too. Whatever we ask. And if we know that he hears us, we know if the one thing is true, the second thing is true. We can be as confident in our knowledge of the second thing as we are in our knowledge of the first thing. And the first thing is we know that he hears us. So if we know that, then we know that whatever we ask, we have the requests that we have asked from him in the past. I agree that whatever we ask, again, might is just an English helping word that is trying to point to the subjunctive in the hypothetical if direction. But it also contains a sense of future that I'm wanting to be convinced is present there, whatever we ask. Because, I mean, you could also say whatever we should ask. That would be another way of translating the subjunctive into English. Yeah, Randall says the time element in the subjunctive isn't clear. The present tense just implies continuing action. Okay, right. The time element has to come from the indicatives. Right. Whatever we ask, we know that we have indicative, present, the requests that we have asked, perfect, indicative. That whatever we ask, we have the requests that we've asked from him. I mean, in the end, the confidence that he's pointing to here. I mean, this sounds like the end point of the argument. But the end point of the argument is not about the future, it's about the past. We have asked, we're in the state of having asked a bunch of things of him. He doesn't seem to be asking us to reflect on future choices, future requests. He's asking us to reflect on past requests, which, again, I want to say, presumably we have not yet received, but can be confident that we will receive them. So confident that we can say, ekomen, we have in the present tense. We have them. We know we have them. We're already in possession of them. That's how confident we are in these asks that we in the past have asked for. Notice that they dodge this. Like they don't do anything with this tense issue in the English. This is the confidence which we have before him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. Notice, Jackie, they've added your parentheticals to the translation here, right? It's not in the text, but I agree with you both that it's implied. And by saying, if we ask anything according to his will, man, okay, and if we, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong sentence. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the request that we have asked from him. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong English verse here. We know that he hears us. Ah, see, look, they attach in whatever we ask to the first part. That's interesting. We know that we have the requests which we have asked from him. Okay, so they do it. And when they do it there in English, isn't it a little bit weird? We know that we have the requests which we have asked from him, which is as much as to say we don't have them yet, right? Again, I don't think this is him pointing to manifest answers to prayer. Okay. So Randall's looking at another commentary which agrees with the NASB that whatever we might ask is attached to hears. That seems the immediate logic of the placement within the sentence. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know. Yeah. But I mean, I try not to, I mean, I don't want to be too simplistic with the word order question because it doesn't mean the same thing in Greek as it means in English, but it doesn't mean nothing in Greek either. I mean, in Greek and Latin both, they're inflected languages and you can put things in different places, but that doesn't mean there isn't a consequence to where you do put it, right? Um, but again, I'm not even worried about that yet. I'm still focused on my tense issue. This sounds like an assurance from John to his audience that they can have confidence that the requests which we have asked in the past and have not yet received, that we know that we have them. And the only reason to say that is that you don't actually have them yet. But you can have confidence that you have them. So that's so the future pointing at the end of this sentence is not about the asking, it's about the having. He's not talking about requests that we will make in the future. He's talking about answers to requests we've made in the past that will come to fruition in the future. And that seems to me a fundamentally different thing. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that lots of people have been uneasy about these verses, right? Um, Jackie, I know you will appreciate this. I've been doing a C.S. Lewis reread recently, and I've recently reread some of those like entire essays C.S. Lewis wrote about these kinds of passages um, in the New Testament, which seem to promise, certain power of getting whatever you ask for. Um, Lewis was like concerned about the logical, uh, uh, problems with this. Um, and that tends to be the focus. Like if you read these verses to somebody, if you read these verses to a Christian, this is the confidence which we have before him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the requests which we have asked for from him. They're likely to be like, so this means that whatever I ask, God will give it to me? Like that's the take home, or at least that's the issue, right? That's the question that seems to be at stake. But I don't think that that is the main point. He's not interested in what we might ask in the future. He's interested in what we shall receive. In response to the thing that we have asked in the past. So ultimately, the point that he's building up to, and this is building verse by verse, logically in a way that he does not always do. But the point that he's building up to is not whatever we ask, we get it. What he's building up to is that which we have asked, we shall certainly have. And those two things are not the same thing. And Stephen, I wonder if you haven't put your finger on it. Stephen says, perhaps this is all building off of what he began with, so that you may know you have eternal life. I mean, that's the having that was in question from the start of this paragraph. These things I have written to you, so that you may have seen that you have the life of the age. Yes. Stephen, that's totally it. Because what is the life of the age? The life of the age is always, well, for now, in that place, isn't it? You have it, present tense. Except the age isn't yet. The age is still to come. You have the life of the age. And so if the life of the age were the thing that we have asked from him, if that's the ask in question, right? Then yes, he's saying, he announced at the beginning of this little paragraph, this little sub paragraph. I'm writing these things so that you will have seen, you will know, you will have seen that you have the life of the age. It's the same verb, ekomen, that you have the asks that you have asked for from him. We can know, we can see. Oidamen hoti ekomen is precisely the construction. Edete, hoti, ekete. It's the different forms, but that's the same construction. Right. And Susan is pointing out Susan is cheating and peeking ahead very profitably. Um, Ignoring the rest of the verse. In the next sentence, he's going to talk about he shall ask and he will give him life. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And of course, it makes sense in another sense as well. How can we be so sure that we will have the asks that we've asked from him? Well, we can be sure if we're confident that those asks, right, those requests are kata to thelema autu, are according to the will of him, right? And what is his will? His will is that we abide in him and he abides in us, right? That we have the life of the age. That is his will. That he's talked about previously, right? We've built up to that. If we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, yeah. With that in mind, let's do it again. These things I have written to you, so that you may know that you have the life of the age, to those believing in the name of the Son of God. And this is the confidence, the boldness that we have in his direction, that if we ask a thing in alignment with his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, so him hearing us is this central term. It's not just about us asking and him giving. John insists on that central. I mean, that's if you said like I asked this and he gave it, or like I asked you and you gave it. Well, like the unstated middle term is that you heard me ask, right? But John doesn't leave that unstated. He emphasizes it, repeats it twice in quick succession. He hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we might ask, according to his will, in Jackie's parentheses, then we know that we have the asks that we asked from him. The hearing is about connection. We were talking about hearing and listening before, and a koe seems to be mostly hearing. Yeah, I I don't think. Well, I'm quite sure this isn't about asking for anything we can possibly think of. But I don't even think necessarily that he's here talking about asking for something according to his will in the sense in which we usually, I mean, like many of us have been taught as Christians to think like this and to talk like that and to pray like that, right? Like, God, if it be according to your will, let me get this job or whatever, right? Like when you're trying to make a life decision. And so you're trying to find out like what is according to God's will. And so that's how when people talk or discuss or debate about these verses, and they tend to be focusing on this C.S. Lewis's question, same thing C.S. Lewis was focusing on that I mentioned, the question of like the extent to which these verses are actually offering us a blank check, right? That God, a promise that God will give us anything we ask for, no matter what it is. And then there's the qualification. Well, no, 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 only if it's according to his will. So again, many of us have been taught to ask for things like, whatever. I've applied for a job. I want to marry this person. Whatever. Right. So I'm asking for this thing, but only if it's according to your will. But I don't even think that that's what this section is about. I think it seems to me all to be about life, about the Zoe. The life of the age. Remember that the word anything, both the word anything and the word whatever, frankly, those words which make this sound like a blank check, that's not, neither of them are really there in the Greek, are really emphasized anyway. Like the word translated anything is just a definite article. And if we ask something, if we ask a thing, I mean, it's literally a placeholder. I mean, I'd be almost tempted to translate that if we ask it according to the will of him. Now, that's a little bit misleading because it's not obvious. The definite article doesn't make it obvious that there's a specific thing that he's thinking of, as it does imply, right? But the definite article certainly does not have to mean a blank check. It could mean that, but again, that's not an inescapable translation by any means. If we ask a thing, or even that thing, according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, and again, this is the whole here, and we've seen this whole bunch of times. This doesn't mean whatever. Just like remember, I've resisted this before. Like with this is the word that's used in John's favorite participial construction, right? When he says like what is usually translated as whoever believes in the name of the Son of God. When in fact, literally what he said in Greek is the believing in the Son of God one, or each of the believing in the Son of God ones. The ever ending. Yeah. Yeah. Randall says it's the aeon, it's the if that supplies the ever in whatever. Ho aeon. Well, sure. It's not like I can't. If somebody wants to if somebody were to if someone were making that translation and they were defending it on those grounds to say that ho and aeon implies whatever, I'd be like, okay, sure, I can see that. But I'm not convinced that it like literally means that. Again, this is the difference between trying to render it into English and trying to think it in Greek. I mean, like another way I would just try to render what seems to me to be something like the Greek thought without using that word would be something like, we know that he hears us um what what we ask theoretically, like what we ask hypothetically, like what we hypothetically ask. We know that he hears us what we hypothetically ask. Like that's, but again, but you hear the difference, right? Whatever in English conveys without restrictions. Whole aeon just says hypothetically. What hypothetically we ask. Now, does that imply without restrictions? Possibly. But in context here, in the context of this paragraph, I'm less convinced that that's true. If the what in question is a little bit more definite than that. And again, this is just me pursuing Stephen's thought. If the whole thing is like, the whole issue is knowing that you have the life of the age. That's what's at issue. Do you have the life of the age or do you not have the life of the age? You want the life of the age. You've asked for the life of the age. Do you have it? And John says, I'm here to tell you you do. I'm here to tell you you can know that you do. And if Stephen's theory is right, his theory about that, I mean, is right. And that's the thing that is at issue all the way along. Then we don't, in English, need to add all of those evers and anythings into this. It's not a question of asking for anything. It's not a question of whatever random thing we might ask. Instead, it's simply a question of if we ask for that. And if this is the confidence that we have towards him, that if we hypothetically ask that thing according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, when we hypothetically ask about that thing, then we know that we have the asks that we have asked of him. Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to say that like whatever or anything with the T is like an impossible translation or a wrong. This is not me trying to grade the translation. I'm just trying to understand if that's what he's actually talking about. And I don't think he's opening. The whole trend of this passage seems to me to suggest that he's not opening up the can there and saying, yep, I don't care what it is. And that he's being like sort of vague about the asks that we've asked for, not because he means it could be anything, but because he means because we know it's that thing. And it's plural. Aitamata, requests, is plural because there's more than one of us asking for it. Right. Randall says the fact that this itomatha, whatever we might ask here, the fact that this is singular could support what I'm saying. Right. The plural, whatever. No, wait. No, not that. Where? Oh, this whole. This is singular? Yeah. Right. What thing? Right. What thing? If this were plural, what things? Aeon. What things hypothetically we ask? Then it would be more open. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's not plural. Yes, you're right. Hey, that does agree with what I was saying. Yes. Right, exactly. He's pointing out Philippians 4:8. Whatsoever things are true, remember that, like when Paul says we should think about those things, right? That's plural. Um, that's an example of using a construction like this, but it's plural. Yes. Yes. Whatever we might ask, but there's only one thing we might ask for. Yeah. Yeah. He's not talking about whatever things. He's not opening the door. That what hypothetically we ask for, we know that we have it. And then in the end, that we have asked from him, I think is his way of turning around and saying, and making the hypothetical real, right? That final construction, ha ete kamen ap autu, that we have asked from him, is his way. Like he's been talking, he's all these if clauses, right, that we've been looking at. He's been talking hypothetically. And he's like, and it's not a hypothesis. We have asked. Like it's real. It's indicative. We have asked from him. We have asked for the life of the age. And by the way, I've written to let you know that we have it. I've written to those believing in the name of the Son of God so that you/they may know that you have life eternal. That thing you asked for, you have asked for. This is the confidence that we have towards him, that if anything singular, that if we ask a thing according to the will of him, if we ask that thing according to his will, he hears us. Notice what he's telling us about God here. If you believe on the name of the Son of God, then you can have confidence in his direction. That if you have asked for the life of the age, he hears us. He's going to hear you. If you ask for the life of the age, he's going to hear you. Because you having the life of the age is kata to thelema autu. It's according to his will. That thing. And if we know that he hears us, if we know that he hears us, if we know that he hears us, what thing we hypothetically ask, we know that we have the requests that we have in fact asked of him. So the premise of this paragraph is, I know that you have sought the life of the age. You've asked for it. You want it. You believe on the name of the Son of God, and you want the life of the age. And I'm here to tell you, you have it. Because that is according to his will. Because when you ask, hypothetically, for that thing, he hears us. Yeah, that does all hold together that way. Oh man, it's already late. But let me do one quick experiment. Let's go back to just before the commandment. 320 1. Agapetoi, beloved. If our mind uh, does not know against us, we have confidence, same confidence, paresian. We have confidence in the direction of God, just like we saw. We have now, what is it? Tell me about our confidence in God's direction here. And ho eon itomen, and what we hypothetically ask, what singular thing we hypothetically ask, we receive from him hoti, tas entolos autu terumen, in that we keep his commandments. Oh, kai ta aresta enopion autu poiomen. And the thing, and we make the things that are pleasing in front of him happen. Yes. I would lay lots of stress upon the hoti. And I would not translate this because. I would not translate this because at all. That makes it sound merely like a transaction. Especially when you translate this as because and then this as whatever, again with that like open-ended sense that it has in English. I'll give you anything you want if you just obey me. Right? Now, we talked about this before when we talked about this way back when, right? That, like, of course, if you are obeying him, then you're not going to ask for some things, right? Um, but we don't even have to go there. Here's my point. And what we theoretically ask, we receive from him in that, forget because, in that. What thing we ask, singular, what thing, ho eon itomen, same exact phrase, same everything. What thing, singular, we theoretically ask from him, we receive, in that we keep the commandments of him. Keeping the commandments of him isn't the condition, it's the thing. Like in asking for, in keeping his commandments, we receive the thing that we ask for. And making the things pleasing. And this, of course, then segues immediately. And this is the commandment of him that we should believe in the name of this. Right. So we go straight back to believing in the name of his son, Jesus Christ, and then agapomen alelos. But do you see? See what I mean about not translating that as because? And we've seen hoti is sometimes because. But although we haven't done statistics along the way, the impression I get is that although he does sometimes use hoti in what seems like a causal sense, because that's not certainly not the only way that he uses it. And I don't even think it's the majority of the way he uses it. And what we theoretically ask, we receive from him. What we hypothetically ask, we receive from him in that we keep the commandments of him and make the things pleasing before him happen. They're the same thing. Receiving the thing that we ask the life of the age. Receiving the life of the age and keeping the commandments, same thing, dude. It's the same. So I'm just going back up this paragraph now. Hang on. Back, back, back. Oop, too far, too far. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Now this stuff makes more sense. Oh, remember this? This was so confusing. And by this, we will know, gnosko this time, not oidoke. And by this, we will know that we are of the truth. We are of the truth. And we will assure our minds before him that if our minds condemn us, like what are we talking about condemnation? Like we're talking about judgment. We're worried about, are we being of the truth? Again, this is, it's about, do we have the life or not? That's what's at issue here. That's what we're worried about. That's what our minds are condemning us about. You are not accepted. You are not of the truth. You don't have the life of the age. But we can assure our hearts that if our hearts know against us, God is more mega than our heart. And he knows all things. Gnosko again. We have confidence towards God, and what we theoretically ask. And what do we theoretically? Here it's even clearer, frankly. All the anxiety that we're having, are we of the truth or not? What do we think our mind is condemning us for? Again, he's not talking about a blank check here. He's talking about our salvation. He's talking about our acceptance by God, our being of the truth, our having the life of the age. That's the issue. And what we ask, we receive from him. And again, in this context, it's clear what they're asking. Acceptance. Life at the age. In that, we keep his commandments. Because sometimes hoti means because, like as a consequence of the following thing, as a consequence of this thing. But sometimes it just means that is this thing. Remember, sometimes it's like a colon. And I'm not saying it's exactly a colon, but it actually might be. Whatever we ask, we receive from him. Colon. The commandments of him we keep, and the things pleasing before him we do. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm more convinced. That makes much more sense. Okay. Armed with that, next time, off to mortal sin. It's time to go back into the hamartia again. We're going to start hamartia and hamartanoing hamartias again right away. And we're talking about asking and giving life. Okay. No, I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun. Yeah. So join me next time when we discuss one of the sentences I've always felt I have understood least in the whole New Testament. So this will be fantastic. Of course, I would recommend review paragraph 9, the sin paragraph. Remember our favorite one from before? Sorry, wrong place. Where'd it go? Yeah, this one. Everyone who does sin also does lawlessness. Yeah. There's no coincidence about the fact that when we were discussing this paragraph at the time, I was saying this is like the thing that is so hard about First John, and that like this paragraph is like the reason that there aren't so very many Bible studies on First John. Like it's Romans gets preached in churches a little more often than First John, right? And this paragraph is a good reason why. But it's not the only reason why. There are good reasons to teach Romans. I'm not trying to diss that, but this is tough sledding, this sin paragraph, right? But it is no coincidence that when we go back to those same concepts here in chapter 5, in paragraph 18, it gets real complicated and hard to understand again. All right. So that's next time. That'll be great fun. All right. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. I think we made good progress here tonight. And I will see you guys next time. Bye now.